guys? I just tried to come at you with some more Pokemon content. I do want to apologize right up front for not posting this video yesterday. I said I would post one yesterday and one today. Something came up, and now I'm going to post one today and one tomorrow, so I do apologize for that. So we are going to continue our series of the top 15 Tier 5 Pokemon. We're going to continue with 10 through 6 today. Let's just jump in. So at number 10 here we have Sharna. Let's actually zoom in on my browser just a little bit. There we go. That makes more sense. So Sharna here actually has a lot of different options. Here we actually have, because I don't think we've done one yet, a specially defensive set of something. She is a psychic type, which is mediocre typing. But the fact she's only one type, she doesn't have that many weaknesses. She has a pretty decent ability, so sometimes to toxic her or burn her or something, she does get to do them back. You can see here we're actually kind of running a cleric set. We ran Heal Bill to clear the status on your team, Moonlight to heal herself up, Psyshock just so we had some damaging move, and then the Thunder Wave to slow people down. If we go over to her EVs, you can see her base stats really aren't bad at all. Her attack's obviously pretty terrible, and her speed's bad, but I mean really everything else is pretty workable. You could even run a physically defensive set. We could run a Calm Mind variant, maybe just have like max HP, max special attack, and then just Calm Mind, maybe like Calm Mind, Moonlight, Psyshock, and then some other damaging move. Her move pool is pretty decent. She does, if we take a look here, she learns Fairy coverage, Energy Ball for grass coverage, obviously all the hidden powers, but that's a given. She also learns Healing Wish, which isn't super well distributed, which if you don't know, basically it faints the user, and then whichever you bring in next is fully healed. So you could have something like 1% HP and just sacrifice this guy using Healing Wish, and then boom, that next guy that comes back is fully healed. She also learns something interesting in dual screens. She learns both Light Screen and Reflect, so you could run something like dual screens with the Light Clay or whatnot. She has a decent, she has some offensive moves or special or physical moves. I don't know why. She does learn the Trick, so you could potentially like throw like, I don't know, Josh, what could you do, like specs on her and then trick it out or something? I don't know. There's a couple different things you can do with that. But yeah, as you see again, she has the grass coverage. She has the fairy coverage. I believe she even has, we saw Bug Buzz, right? I think she has, Signal Beam. So I mean, again, she does, and Shadow Ball. So I mean, she does have some coverage, and of course with the hidden power there, she can hit pretty hard on the special side. I think she even has a decent, yeah, she has a 107 attack stat, which is definitely workable. I think that's the same. Is that the same as the Rotoms? I know they have, I think it might be the same as the Rotoms, or it's around there. And if you're familiar with how hard Rotom hits, obviously she can also hit pretty well. So that's Sharna. She's a psychic type again. Her other abilities, by the way, aren't super useful. She has Forewarn, which is kind of garbage, and Telepathy, which is bad unless you're playing in doubles. So again, yeah, Sharna, try her out. Again, specially defensive, physically defensive, also like a special attack. I could even see someone, no, there's no way you could run like Scarf on her. She'd be too slow even still. But you could do something like a Specs and just live with her speed. But anyways, going to the next Mon here at number 9, we have the Floatzel. It does not keep the zoom, but we'll go ahead and zoom in again. Here's Floatzel here. He's a fast, physically offensive Pokemon. His move pool is okay. He is very, very fast, like I said. Oh, obviously we actually rather run the Water Veil unless you do have the Rain. If you do have the Rain, though, he probably does jump up a bit because he can kind of be a super late game sweeper with that Swift Swim ability. But again, we're just going to assume we don't have Rain and run this. Running a Life Orb set. So this is basically just going to, before attacking moves, going to hit as hard as he can. Let's go ahead and look at the spread we're running here. This is a pretty standard spread. This is adamant, which means he's not quite as fast as he can be. If we put the, let's actually just show that real quick. With Jolly, he actually hits the 361 speed, which is very fast. With that 115 base speed, he is going to hit, or he's going to be very fast. But I think this is interesting because at 115 max speed investment, a neutral nature, you do outspeed base 100s by 1. So a base 100 Jolly or Timid something would not actually be, well, you would still be able to speed creep them just barely. And then plus with a 105 attack, you are going to hit decently hard. His coverage options are okay. We can go ahead and take a look here. He does have agility, but I mean, I'd rather him learn Sword Stance, to be honest with you, just because his speed is not going to be his issue more often than his just raw power is. 115 is very fast. 105 is medium attack. It's not amazing. But I mean, he does get the priority in Aqua Jet, which is nice. We're actually running that right here. We have Waterfall, Aqua Jet, Ice Punch, and Brick Break. I really like water plus ice coverage. It works out pretty well. You get to get around those grass types that think they can come in and wall you. This set even gets around like a Ferrothorn with Brick Break. His special move pool is okay too. As you see, he has Ice Beam. I think he has some other stuff too, if I remember looking. Yeah, Scald, which I'm sure is kind of a given. Yeah, he actually also has Pursuit, so you can Pursuit Trap. He has Crunch if you'd rather just have the stronger Dark type move rather than the ability to Pursuit Trap. Low Kick is an option over Brick Break. You can even run Power Up Punch if you feel like maybe kind of pseudo setup on Pokemon with since he doesn't have Sword Stance and you do want this to be a setup on, we could easily switch Brick Break here for the Power Up Punch in order to keep raising his attack. He's a fast Roar user. He has Sub, obviously. Switcheroo is kind of a tricky thing, but it's trick. But again, I don't know how often you would use that. He has Taunt. So again, some options here. Not the most flexible one. You can see just his move pool doesn't quite. It kind of lets him down. Oh, he also learns Bulk Up. I guess that's decent too. You could run a Bulk Up set on him. Maybe what's his? His defense is actually pretty terrible. His HP stat's okay though. But still, you might be able to pull off a Bulk Up set. I think I'd rather run the Power Up Punch here just to do a little bit of damage because I don't think he's going to live much even after a Bulk Up. Obviously, Baton Pass he can learn, so he could Bulk Up and then pass that off to someone else. A pretty good Pokemon here. Get a little light on the flexibility. I do like that he can't be burned with Water Veil. That is very nice. It means that, he can't get Scald burned. He can't get, so you can switch him in on a Scald, which is resisted by him, and then he's going to be able to do a decent chunk, hopefully back to that thing. Maybe set up on it if he doesn't, like if you're running against something that's not offensive, that only has 1 or 2 offensive moves, and maybe it's relying on burn for its status. You can kind of just Power Up Punch in its face, get that attack boost, and then hit something really hard next turn. Let's see. Yeah, and then again, he does jump up. I would say he jumps up a couple of slots if you are running the Rain, just because of Swift Swim. We've talked about that. I think with oh man, who did we talk about? There was Stoutland, right? Stoutland in our last video, we talked about how he would jump up if you have a Sand team. Again, moving on to number 8. Here we have Scyther. Another pretty good physically offensive set. I saw a super sweet set actually, but I decided not to use it. I'll show it in a second though. But this is just a choice band set. His move pool also, you'll find a lot of times these Pokemon that are tier 5, I mean they're obviously tier 5 for a reason. A lot of them just have very limited options. It's not even sometimes so much the stats as just, I mean his stats are a little low for what you'd want out of like a high tier pick. But with But again, these stats are workable, and his move pool does let him down a little bit. He does get some good options, though. If he was a little more defensive, you could run something like Roost, and I have seen it. He does learn Defog, which is nice. But anyways, we'll just go through this. So he's got U-Turn here. We are running the Technician to boost up this Aerial Ace. We could run Bug Bite, which would actually do more damage because of Technician than U-Turn. But U-Turn's so nice because we can just start with him in the front. At 105 speed, max investment. Jolly. He's going to outspeed most things on your opponent's team, and so you can kind of just start the game for free with him out. You turn out into something that maybe counters whatever's out. Again, so we got the U-turn. We are running Aerial Ace, which is actually a pretty decent move on him. Flying Stab is very nice, and with the Technician boost, it actually gets boosted up to 90 base power instead of that 60. Yeah, this Pokemon. Yep. And then Knockoff here, just a great move. Obviously, I'm sure some of you know. Knockoff is just a very, very useful move. Getting off that, those foes' items. Plus, Dark can be good. Brick break here to break through some of the things, mainly steel. You'll notice his dual stabs here get walled by steels, but with choice banded brick break, he's actually going to break through a lot of those steel types pretty easily. At least the ones that don't threaten him out. Again, here we can take a look at his set. Again, just a very standard Jolly, max speed, a little bit of SPDF investment. I actually do want to show one other set that I found on Smogon. Actually, it was the very first set, and I thought it was a pretty cool set. So we have Eviolite here in order to boost his defenses, which are actually better than I thought they would be. 80, I mean, that's not that bad. And then with that... with that boost, these get very respectable. They hit almost 300 each with the Eviolite bonus. Anyways, so let's just go ahead and look at the set. We'd have a U-turn, Aerial Ace, Roost, and I think Sword Stance. And then you do a very bulky set like this. This allows you to live a pretty decent amount of hits. I mean, with your HP is going to be pretty high, plus these defenses aren't too bad. His typing is pretty middling. You need to keep rocks off the field. But again, with Roost and Sword Stance, and these are actually pretty decent stabs when put together. They can hit a lot of different things for super effective damage, including bugs themselves if you happen to run into them. Also, another option, if you were just trying to run like a bulky sizer with Eviolite, you could switch this for defog. He's not the best defogger, obviously, because he is weak to rocks, and you really don't want to have to switch him into rocks. I mean, especially, like, there's a lot of defoggers that are weak to rocks, just because, like Zapdos, for example, is a pretty good defogger that's weak to rocks, but he's only 2 times weak to rock. Scyther's 4 times weak to rock, which means he loses half his health upon the switch in. But again, I mean, hey, in a pinch, whatever, do what you got to do. Just another Scyther set. I thought that was kind of a cool set. Also, if you didn't care about the U-turn options, you could always run the superior in terms of damage, bug bite, and also even has a pretty decent little ability there, being able to eat the opponent's berry. Aerial Ace is nice too, just never misses. On to number 7, we have a Gourgeist here. Gourgeist can do a couple different things. I really like his defensive options much more than his offensive options. Synthesis, Will-O-Wisp, Destiny Bond, Seed Bomb. I mean, Synthesis, Will-O-Wisp is just... these are just good options for a defensive on Destiny Bond. Even if you're just against something that has set up on you and you know you can live a hit, you just switch in, take the hit, Destiny Bond them, and then you're like, do what you got to do, man. He also learns Explosion. We could run defensively. He learns Fire Blast, which I think is really weird. Like, why the heck do you learn Fire Blast, dude? But he does learn some interesting things. Unfortunately, a lot of those are on the special side, which he obviously has a very, very poor special attack, Shadow Ball. He does learn. I have seen, again, we can go over some different options here. You do notice this says Gourgeist Super. Gourgeist actually has a couple different variations. Basically, as he goes smaller and smaller in size, his HP and attack, is it attack or defense? HP and I think attack go down and his speed goes up. Generally speaking, the super version is the best, just because even though his speed is lower, even with that high speed, there's not a lot he can do with kind of a weak attack stat. Or is it? Let's double check on that. I should double check on that. Yeah, it is that attack stat. Again, though, that was let's just throw it back up there. I think Insomnia is his best ability. I guess Frisk isn't too bad. You get to just see the item. That's some free information. But just being able to, take on something like Breloom because he can't touch you with Sleep Powder. I guess he can't anyways, because of... anyways, but let's just go ahead and do Synthesis. Will-O-Wisp. Destiny Bond. Obviously, there's other things he could do, but we'll go over those in a second. And then lastly, we just need some kind of damaging move. We're going to go ahead and go Seed Bomb here. I don't know why it wants me to. We're going to run a physically defensive one. That just seems a little better to me. Oh, it is interesting that he's actually running. There we go. Let's go ahead and put those last four UVs into this special defense. His offensive move pool isn't too bad. I mean, I've definitely seen worse. So we could do something like We could run like a choice band on him or something and run like explosion. Shoot, we could even run. This would actually be an interesting set. Let me take a look at something. What if we ran like assault vest and just made him super bulky, and we ran like let's run seed bomb. Let's go ahead and run flame charge, which is nice because this actually lets us set up. Plus, it gives us some interesting stab options. You just don't see, like if a grass type comes in thinking they can wall us, we can get the flame charge going. He also actually gets a really unique, well, it's not completely unique, but it is at least somewhat unique option here in the shadow sneak. And then he also gets rock slide, which can get us past those ghosts, or not ghosts, I'm sorry, fire types that we were so worried about. So this is a pretty cool set. We would basically run, at least in my opinion, I think I would go something like this. I think I would go, yeah, I'd get rid of that. And then I'd probably do 4 in the defense, just because our special defense is going to get much higher because of this assault vest. Flame charge, again, allows us to set up. It allows us some, it's a very weak move, so it's not like even if we are hitting something super effectively, it's really not going to do that much. We also do get the priority stab, shadow sneak, which is interesting. And then we do get the rock slide for those fire types that switch in on us. This is also a pretty interesting set, one I never really thought of. Yeah, there's really, I guess we could also run Frisk, but whatever. Yeah, and this is just a really bulky, tanky, attacking set, which again, we kind of saw 2 different sides of the spectrum here. So he does have more flexibility than a lot of these mons. I do like him quite a bit. I mean, obviously I have him as the 7th best mon in all of tier 5, so I obviously think he's pretty good. Just something to think about. That's Gourgeist. If we move on to number 6 here, we do have the Tauros. I do like Tauros. He's just cool. Just a big old bull. So here we have the Life Orb. He's going to be hitting really, really hard here. Life Orb plus Sheer Force on Rock Slide and Iron Head is going to do a lot of damage. Obviously, if you don't know what Sheer Force does, it removes the secondary effects Pokemon moves have, but also gives them 1.3 times power. So, for example, on Rock Slide, this move gets 30% stronger, but at the same time it loses the 30% chance to flinch. Same with this, it gets 30% stronger, but loses that chance to flinch. And then here we have Return for the stab. This is actually going to hit very hard here. Yeah, Return will hit pretty hard on Tauros with a Life Orb. And then we have Earthquake. And this has pretty good coverage, to be honest with you. Steel, rock, as well as ground is going to hit a lot of things for super effective damage. You know, flying, electric, just a lot of different options here. Steel types do not really want to come in on him. Fire types are scared of him. You know, there's just a lot of options here. And again, if we just take a look at the EV spread, you can see his stats are decent. This guy's move pool is insane. Let's actually take a look at it real quick. Most of them are useless to him because they are special. But look at this. He learns Blizzard for some stinking reason. Fire Blast, Flamethrower. He learns like Thunderbolt. Yeah, he learns Surf, Thunder, Thunderbolt. Like, what is this? Like, why do you have these insane special options? And his special attack, unfortunately, I was thinking with like Thunderbolt and some of those other Fire Blast, those do also get boosted by Sheer Force. But unfortunately, with his just absolutely incredibly poor special attack stat, I do not think it is usable at all. Maybe you could do something with that, but I don't know. Again, though, you can see if you were paying attention, he does have other options. Even on the physical side, you could run something like Facade. Obviously, Double Edge is a decent option over something like Return. Body Slam is actually a decent option. Let's take a look at something here. Let me run some calcs. 85 times 1.3. Wow, so actually Body Slam's just kind of strictly better. Body Slam's actually very good on him. You lose, again, with the Sheer Force, you lose that option of the Paralyzed, but this does come up to a base 110 attack with no drawback. That is actually incredible. That's almost like unheard of. Again, he learns Zen Headbutt. If you're worried about some fighting types, he learns Wild Charge. If you need to hit some, if you need to get through some water types, a Stone Edge. If you don't want to run, he actually also, we'll talk about it in 1 second. Pursuit, Outrage. You probably wouldn't run, but maybe. I guess if you really needed to hit a dragon, probably not. So again, just some really, really interesting moves here. Bulldoze, which you'd probably just run Earthquake over almost all the time, but the fact that you do get that speed drop can be useful. Yeah, just a lot of really cool moves he learns. Well, we already talked about, oh yeah, we have Iron Head. He also learns Iron Tail if you were interested in that. Many different options, really. He does actually also have one other, he learns Solar Beam, sorry. That's ridiculous. Yeah, see, he just has a ridiculous move pool. Unfortunately, a lot of these moves are just completely unusable to him because of his terrible special attack. You could also, he also has Intimidate, which he can run as well. Obviously, we'd probably change out some of these moves. But I mean, shoot, even with 95 defense and 75 HP, he could run as like a bulky pivot here. Maybe run like max HP, max attack, or something like that. And his defense stat is high enough that it's somewhat workable. He doesn't really have a good recovery move, so he unfortunately couldn't really be a dedicated physical wall. He would just die too quickly. I don't even think he has an option to like Pain Split. He does have Rest though, but of course everyone has Rest. Well, almost everyone, I guess I should say. Again, but that's Tauros. He is our number 6. You can see he actually does bring some flexibility. His stats, the thing that's holding him back a little bit is his stats here. 110 speed is pretty good. 100 attack is also pretty decent. But again, not going to blow the roof off of anything. You know, he's just, that's okay. Plus his typing, maybe if he had a better offensive typing, he might be able to do a little more. Maybe he'd be a little higher than tier 5. But with his good move pool and solid stats, especially for a tier 5, I don't know. He's a worthwhile pickup, at least looking at if you need another physical attacker on your team, something with some speed, you could definitely do worse than Tauros. That's going to be it for 10 through 6, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I will, for sure, get 5 through 1 up tomorrow, so everyone can have time, hopefully in my draft, to watch it. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment if you have anything to say, and yeah, have a good one, guys.